Yo, what's going on? Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Or good afternoon, shall I say. Good afternoon to everyone. Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Good afternoon to everyone. Or good morning, depending on what coast you're on. Greetings, 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 beloved. Greetings to all. Greetings and a good afternoon, good morning, good afternoon, and good morning to some, and good afternoon to some. But welcome, shalom to all, shall I say. Definitely sending out invitations right now to all brothers and sisters around the world. Before we get started here, I have a quick lesson. It's not going to be that long, but it's going to be very informative. So definitely feel free to share this video. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on, everybody? Definitely, man, we got another day, another awesome day. Another awesome day, another awesome lesson that the Lord is going to reveal to us through the scriptures. And so definitely like to thank all of you for jumping on, being faithful, all of you for sharing the videos. We've definitely been, a lot of brothers is getting blessed, man, being able to learn. So that is the ultimate goal, man, to be able to bless brothers and sisters and let the Lord speak to them through the scriptures as we continue to grow and get an understanding. So definitely appreciate all of you. Right now, I am manually sending out invites. So definitely shalom to all. Definitely thank you, Sister Clayton Brown, for sharing. Definitely all of you. Hey, good morning, Sister Sunny. All of you, definitely you can feel free to invite brothers and sisters or share the video with them. We'll get started here shortly. As I said, the lesson isn't going to be super long unless the Ruach moves and the Spirit want to go how it wants to go. Then we follow his lead and we go from there. But this lesson is going to be very informative. It's a topic of conversation that many have talked about why Paul rebuked Peter. And we're going to look at it and see, according to the scriptures, why Paul rebuked him. All right? So we're going to look at that and see, to give us an understanding of the scriptures. All right? Definitely appreciate it. Thanks all for sharing. Brothers and sisters. All right, what's going on? What's going on? All right, hey, Brother Brock, what's going on? What's going on, Andrew, Brother Andrew? What's going on, everybody? Thank all for joining. Thank all for sharing. Appreciate it. We're going to get started here real quick. We're going to look at these scriptures and just understanding, all right? We'll start up here in just a second. right. What's going on? What's going on, Brother JD? What's going on, man? Stay blessed, man. Stay encouraged. And we're going to go ahead and get started right here. Look at these scriptures, and we're going to look at this topic of conversation of the Apostle Paul rebuking the Apostle Peter. And so we're going to look at it, and we're going to see why he rebuked him. What was the purpose? Why? Why all of a sudden did Paul feel the need to rebuke his brother? All right, the Apostle Peter, who we know was the first one to receive revelation of who the Christ was. Not by man, not by somebody telling him, hey, brother, you know, that's the Christ. You know that, right? Not an earthly man saying, that's the Christ, you should follow him. But he received revelation out of the Christ's mouth, who said, the Father is the one who revealed these things to you. After everybody had given their opinions or consensus of what the streets was saying, because Christ said, let me know what the streets is talking. What is the street saying? What the streets is talking about? Who does the street say that I am? And he says, listen, he says, man, this is what the streets got to say. The streets say that you John the Baptist reincarnated. The streets say you Elijah reincarnated, or all the Moses reincarnated, all these other prophets. That's what the brothers that was around saying. They too busy listening to what the streets saying versus listening to what the Lord is saying. And so they following just like we do. The streets is talking, hey, that pastor right there, man, he's blowing up, man. Hey, man, that guy over there blowing up, man, he got all kind of followers. And we listening to what men are murmuring and talking about, and we drop everything and follow what the populace is saying. But the Apostle Peter at the time was a disciple, was a continuous learner. The apostle, himself, the apostle says, no, I hear what the streets is talking about, but that ain't what was told to me. I'm not following based on numbers' sake. See, if we get ourselves and process ourselves spiritually, regardless of how many people following who, you want to follow the populace is going to lead you to the wide road of destruction. But Peter said, no, you are not what the streets is saying you are. See, the streets is saying that Christ is this white man, or that's that white man book, and the streets now is saying, he had a homosexual relationship with Thomas and all these other people. The streets saying, Christ isn't real, he does not exist. The streets are saying, hey, they've been saying he's coming back for 2,000 years. The streets are saying, Christ, he died for your past, present, and future, therefore you can do whatever you want to do. The streets is talking. The Apostle Peter is not listening to the streets. Brothers and sisters, stop listening to what the streets is saying and tell me what God is saying. The streets is going to say all forms of things. Even in that day when Christ was walking, the streets was talking. You Elijah, he's Moses. The streets don't have no revelation. The people of God is who get revelation, and you get revelation by fasting, praying, and getting in this word that the street says does not exist, or the street saying that is false or plagiarized. Forget what the streets is talking about. That's the problem. We listening to what the populace is saying, and we're following the populace. But the Apostle Peter says, listen, I'm not going to follow what the streets is saying, what the streets is talking about. Because I have been with the Father. I've walked with the Christ long enough Not by what my ancestors or what my grandmama or my mama had told me who this man was. But I've walked with him long enough now. See, Christ is the master strategist. Christ is the master teacher. He allowed them to walk with him long enough, just enough to pose the question. He didn't pose the question in the beginning because yet they only knew about him. They didn't know him. They knew that a man was coming. Remember, these are Hebrews. All of these brothers in this book were Hebrews. The disciples were Hebrews. So they understood something about the prophecies because they grew up in a culture that was teaching. From the young age was teaching them about this coming Messiah. Most of us is in that same position. We've grown up in the church and all these form of things. And we've heard about a man who is coming back. But guess what? A lot of us have strayed away from the truth and following what the streets is saying. Why are you following that book? Look at you're allowing the streets to teach you something that they have no revelation of. The Apostle Peter said, no, I'm not listening to the streets. I'm going to listen to my Creator. That thing, that being that has given me revelation. And after everybody had given that consensus of what the streets were saying, the Apostle Peter said, hold on. There's nothing that the streets can't tell me that I have not known. And the very thing that I've known from a child has manifested itself right in front of me. Thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God, not the son of the streets, not the street disciple, even though he did do his work in the streets, but yet he was not created and born in the streets. He came from a place that is beyond the streets. The place that he comes from the street is his footstool. He says, listen, thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. The streets did not tell me this. And Christ came around and he said, Peter, for flesh and blood, for man, for the streets, not DJ Khaled, not any of these other guys, P. Diddy, Baby, none of them, Jermaine Dupri, none of them have told you this. But only my Father, if that's in a place where the streets is his footstool. He have revealed this to you. And upon your testimony, because you out of all the brothers that's with you, have confessed the very thing that I've been waiting for. Now I can establish the thing that I've come to do. Because out of one of you was paying attention when we were having class. Our experiences is the classroom. But everybody's not paying attention to details in class. But that goes to this point. Though he received revelation, there is still a part of us that is at war with our revelation. There's still a part of us that's at war with the very being that is keeping us. God's kingdom is always at war with our traditions, everything else that is around us. Our flesh is always at war with our spirit. And even though Peter received revelation, he's still encased in that very thing that doubts. The flesh that is encased up around your spirit, if you feed it long enough, it will suppress the very thing that was sent to suppress it. That's why this Bible, fasting and prayer, is what's going to continue to keep your flesh man suppressed. All of us have struggles we deal with. Don't get it twisted. Peter received revelation of who Christ was, but yet he still struggled. The point is not that you're not going to struggle. The point is how long are you going to stay in that place and allow the flesh that's causing you to struggle dominate that spirit that is supposed to be suppressing your flesh? That's the question. Striving towards perfection. Yes, you're going to fall. Yes, you're going to doubt. Yes, you're going to go through all these things. Accept the reality and the fact of where you are, but don't allow your doubts and your flesh and all of that stuff to suppress you and cause you to reside in that place. As Paul said, shall we continue in sin because grace abounds? Absolutely not. Yes, you're going to fall. Yes, you're going to do all these things, but yet you don't reside in sin. You continue to press forward, strive towards perfection. But this world will teach you. Even some of the religious leaders will teach you. Don't strive towards it, but reside where you are in the mess that you're in, which is going to cause you to go in the opposite direction of perfection. As God is not looking for a perfect people. He's looking for a willing people. The question is, are you willing to try? Are you willing to strive? Yet Peter received revelation, but yet he still got to a place to where he caused the streets and the world around him to doubt the very thing that he received revelation of. And that revelation not only was the revelation of who Christ was, but this is pivotal because he received revelation of who Christ was, the Son of God. And because of that, the Son of God gave him a newfound revelation. And to this point, this newfound revelation that he revealed to Peter, Paul rebuked him because of it. And we're going to get into our lesson and find out, why did he rebuke him? Why did he rebuke him according to the scriptures? Let's find out. Turn me in your Bibles to Galatians, the 2nd chapter. Galatians chapter number 2. This is going to be a 2-part series. I'll do it today, and hopefully I can get this part tomorrow. If not, the next day. All right. Well, not the next day or Friday, one of the days. I'm going to try to do it back to back. All right. For you. We're going to look at it today, part 1. And we're going to look at Paul rebuking Peter. The one who received revelation of the Christ is the one who had to be rebuked by a man who never walked with the Christ. Just because you walk with the Christ, it doesn't make you above correction. Someone who did not walk with him can still rebuke you and bring you back to a place. But not only in that rebuking, there still has to be a restoration process as well. You rebuke with compassion, but you also have to restore brothers and sisters, because sometimes if you don't do it correctly, the rebuke can destroy them. That's why it takes compassion, revelation, and it takes some sitting time to grasp this understanding. Christ would rebuke, but with compassion, which brought forth the correction of brothers and sisters. All right. Now, Galatians chapter number 2. We're going to start at verse number 2. And I went up. This is according to the Apostle Paul. This is a letter. All right. His epistle to Galatia. And I went up by revelation. See, He went up. He made the things that he's done. One thing about that I noticed when I'm reading the Bible, when you're reading the scriptures, not only do you use precept upon precept, line upon line, but you also have to be like a crime scene investigator. When a crime scene investigator comes to a crime, his main key focus isn't just on the scene of where the incident or the murder happened, but the things that are around the scene usually render clues and evidence to what happened at the scene. So in order to be a good student of the Bible, every single thing matters in the scriptures. This is why people, it baffles me when I hear people say that something doesn't matter in the Bible. Every single thing, every comma, every period, every exclamation point, every color, every symbol, every literal scripture, everything matters because it brings forth an understanding. This is the very reason why so many people have created private interpretations. So many people have created religions because they've isolated scripture and falling into the area of pretext versus getting context and being able to teach it properly. Every single thing matters in the scriptures. Everything. All the way down to the hair. All the way down to a bump on the forehead of the person that's having a conversation. Everything. Don't let nobody tell you that nothing matters. Every single thing matters in the scriptures. Now, as crime scene investigators, as students of the word, this is the way the first century church taught. That's why they were so dangerous. They were educated spiritually. They understood the law. And not only that, but they had the Spirit of Christ. When you have the Spirit of Christ, you're educated, you're fearless, and you know the word, you're dangerous. The only thing that can stop you is putting you to death. That's it. That's the only thing. That's why in this Western world, nobody, not even the devil, is afraid of some of these so-called believers. He doesn't fear you because he knows that you don't know anything. And that's not to all, that's just the truth, brothers and sisters. All right, let's move on. And I went up by revelation. So Peter or Paul is not moving or making a decision on his own self. Revelation is key to making moves. As a believer, we make moves based on revelation, not based on feeling and emotions. You've been taught to make moves off emotions and not revelation. Christ was driven in Matthew chapter number 4. He was driven into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil by the Spirit. Christ didn't say, oh, you know what? I've been baptized. Now it's time for me to go ahead and go into the wilderness. No, the scripture says he was driven by the Spirit, revelation, into the wilderness to be tempted. Paul is saying here, he's saying, then I went up in verse number 2 of Galatians chapter 2. I went up by revelation and communicated edification. The Lord isn't concerned about people doing all this form of things and all this stuff. If nobody's being edified, the Lord is not pleased with that. He's not pleased unless everybody is edified. That's why Paul said, listen, if nobody knows what you're saying, let he who is speaking in an unknown tongue, let him be quiet if there's no interpreter, because how can we say amen? How can we agree with you? Everything matters. So Paul says in Galatians chapter number 2, verse number 2, he says, and I went up by revelation. The Spirit drove me there and communicated. I gave edification to the people who I came in contact with. Unto them that gospel which I preach among the Gentiles. Now, you have to be very careful in understanding this. This is the reason why you have to do some extra digging. You just can't look at the word Gentile and automatically think that these are people of non-Israelite descent. And during that time, after the scattering, because there was a scattering that took place by the northern kingdom of Israel, which happened in the book of Kings, okay? A lot of the scattered were brothers and sisters who were Israelites by blood, living like Gentiles. This is the reason why Acts, the 2nd chapter, was so powerful at Pentecost. Because these were Jews out of every nation. So, let's continue. Preach the gospel among Gentiles, but privately to them which were of reputation, lest by any means I should run or had run in vain. Now, stop right there. Stop right there, brother and sister. Let's go over to verse number 7. Let's jump right over Galatians chapter 2. We're in verse number 2. Now let's go over to verse number 7, all right? For the sake of time. Here we go. But contrariwise, when they saw that the gospel of the uncircumcision, okay, Jews who living like Gentiles and natural blood Gentiles, okay, all right? And I'll break that down later, all right? I'll break that down later for you, all right? For the sake of time, I can't touch on every single thing. But we'll go there. But contrariwise, when they saw that the gospel of the uncircumcision was committed unto me, this is Paul talking, because he got revelation of, that's why people dub him as the apostle to the Gentiles, thinking that he's just the apostle to Gentiles who were of natural blood. No, because they haven't researched or studied enough to know that he was dealing also with Hellenists, those who were scattered, Greek-speaking Israelites. All right, let's read here. All right, the gospel was committed unto me as the gospel of the circumcision. The circumcision was Israelites. Those who knew they were Israelites, as those who were Israelites who accepted the way, meaning accepted Christ and the laws, and those who were following Moses, who had not accepted Christ, but was still following the Pharisees by sacrificing animals. Okay, so Peter was assigned to both of them. Paul was assigned to those who were Gentiles by blood, Jews living like Gentiles, and he taught those who were following the ways of Moses, who had yet not converted into the way. So Paul, the way he writes, he's dealing with 3 different personalities of people mentally. That's why his letters are written in such a way that they are. And Peter warned us in 2 Peter chapter number 3, verse 15 through 18 of the way Paul writes. All right. But that's a whole nother lesson. Let's continue to move. Verse number 8. For he that wrought effectually in Peter. So he who confided in Peter. All right. To the apostleship of the circumcision, those who were Israelites, the same was mighty in me towards the Gentiles. So Paul is saying, listen, he said that same spirit, the same Father who had given Peter the authority to the circumcision, gave me the authority to those who are uncircumcised or who considered to be uncircumcised. All right. Verse number 9. And when James, Cephas, and John, who seemed to be pillars, meaning that they had a foundation, they were strong leaders, okay? Seemed to be pillars, perceived the grace that was given unto me. So they perceived, they like, okay, we see how this can work. All right, they perceived it. The grace that was given unto me, this is Paul talking, they gave to me and Barnabas the right hand of fellowship. So they say, okay, we know, we perceive that the Lord is calling you to the Gentiles, okay? So they offered him a right hand of fellowship. They was in agreement with it. They offered him a right hand of fellowship. You see what I'm saying? Oh, let's continue here. A right hand of fellowship that we should go unto the heathen, meaning Gentiles, and they unto the circumcision. So we were going to go to the uncircumcised or the Gentiles or the Jew that's living like a Gentile. And they were going to go to those who were circumcised, who were following the traditions of Moses, or the sacrificial law, and those who can't come out of the sacrificial law into the way of accepting Christ. All right. Verse number 10. Only they would that we should remember the poor, the same which I also was forward to do. Verse number 11, Galatians chapter 2. But when Peter was come to Antioch, I withstood him. Here comes the rebuke. Now I want you to listen to this. All right. Listen to this very well. All right. Pay attention. Turn. What you got to do, focus on this. All right. So now he just now finished talking about, okay, yeah, Peter was, he was called to the circumcised. I was called to the uncircumcised and blah, blah, blah. So now Paul is finna get into the rebuke. All right. Verse number 11. But when Peter, because Peter did something, remember, Peter is the one who received revelation, the one who, if you want to call chief apostle, okay, who the revelation was given to, he received who Christ was. The church was built upon him. Okay. He was the one. So everybody knew this. So a lot of people was following Peter. All right. He had a crew. Like he had a crew of people. Everybody was following Peter. His name had become great amongst the brethren. All right. All right. But when Peter was come to Antioch, I withstood him to the face. So Paul did not care about how many people was following Bishop or Apostle Peter. He didn't care. Because if it didn't line up with the scriptures of what he was doing, it did not matter. He wasn't concerned about what position he had or he received a revelation. It didn't matter. Right is right and wrong is wrong according to the scriptures. And no man is above reproach or correction. All right? Let's roll. But when Peter was come to Antioch, I withstood him to the face. So Peter spoke openly. Paul, I be getting mixed up. Paul spoke openly the same way we did the lesson yesterday of Christ speaking the truth openly. He told the Pharisees, I spoke openly. Notice a pattern. Everybody that's of Christ, they're not going against the law. They are speaking openly because they know that you can't do that or you're going to get in trouble with the Most High. So Paul stood, he said, I withstood him to his face. I didn't care how many people followed him because he was to be blamed. He was to be blamed for everybody else doing what he was doing. All right. So Paul says, I'm not going to go to those who following him. I'm not going to go to the armor bearer. I'm not going to the usher. I'm not going to the local, the lay member. No, I'm going to the head. I'm going to the one who is supposed to be in authority and position over the flock. I'm going straight to him in his face, and I'm going to speak openly and tell him, you are not doing right according to the scriptures. Flat out. Flat out. All right? And it was not in a disrespectful way, but he was stern. He was austere about it. Let's read. Verse number 12. For before that certain came from James, he did eat with the Gentiles. He did eat with the Gentiles. So Peter, who was called to the circumcision, all right, Peter was eating with the Gentiles. As long as people around who agree with it, Peter was eating with the Gentiles. Now, I get brothers around here trying to talk about Peter was eating what they was eating. The Bible didn't say he was eating what they was eating. The Bible said he was eating with them. You ever ate with somebody who was eating something, all right, that you didn't agree with or that the scriptures didn't agree with, but yet you sitting there having a hamburger. You eating with the person. You ain't eating what they eating, but yet people always got to take through philosophy and make this out of Peter was eating what they were eating. No, Peter was eating. He already know. Remember, these are Hebrews. They know what time it is. All right. And I'm going to show you how and why Peter was the scriptures said that he was eating with them and not eating what they were eating. All right. Let's get some understanding here. Let's roll. For before that certain came, there was a certain group of people came from James. He did eat with the Gentiles. But when he come, all right, but when they were come, he withdrew himself. So he like, wait a minute. You being a hypocrite. All right? You're going to sit around and eat with the Gentiles, but all of a sudden, when these certain group of people come around, you're going to withdraw yourself because you don't want to be talked about and you don't want it to get back to the Pharisees. Because everybody know the Pharisees, no Gentile wasn't coming up in no temple. All right? Let's get that straight up right now. All right? If the Gentiles were anywhere around the synagogue, they was on the outer courts. They wasn't in no temple. They was not going inside the temple. It was forbidden. You get put to death, stoned on sight for bringing a Gentile into the inner courts of the temple. It's not happening. All right? It's not happening. But yet alone, they was eating with the Gentiles. Soon as somebody that was hanging around them Pharisees rolled around, oh, here they come, y'all. Let's go. Let's go. Hey, then they go there and go hang out with their brothers. Because they didn't want, that's being a hypocrite. And we're going to see why. Why Paul rebuked him. And why. All right, let's see. All right, he withdrew and separated himself, fearing them which were of the circumcision. So, James and all the rest of them dudes, Peter, all of them, they withdrew themselves from the Gentiles. All right. Now, it does not say if they were blood Gentiles. All right. Or if they were Jews living as Gentiles. So we're just going to keep it at that. We're not going to inject anything into the scriptures. They were Gentiles. And even the Pharisees looked at the Jews who were living as Gentiles as unclean. All right. So we just leave it at that. Whatever the scripture's saying, we're not going to interpret it. We're not going to put our own thing into there. All right. Now, they withdrew themselves. Remember, Peter is called to the circumcision. Paul is called to the Gentiles, but he also ministered to or witnessed to those of the circumcision. So Peter withdrew himself from those who knew that they were Israelites. And he was fearing that the word was going to get around. All right. Now, let's see why Peter got rebuked by Paul. Because Peter's supposed to know better. Go to the book of Acts, precept upon precept. Go to the book of Acts, chapter number 10. And we're going to find out why Paul rebuked Peter. All right? Because Peter, you know better. You received revelation of Christ, and you were the first one to receive revelation of something else. And so Paul rebuked him for being a hypocrite, and it had to do with the Gentiles. All right. Let's see here. Acts chapter number 10. All right. Let's read. Verse number 1. There was a certain man in Caesarea called Cornelius. Peter know better. He was the first one to receive revelation of two major components of this New Testament. Called Cornelius, a centurion of the band called Italian band. So the way the centurions was set, or the way Rome was set up with their military, okay, it was almost the same way the way you have the American military. You had all these different nations, people who were out of all different nations who were citizens of Rome who became a part of their military. America is just doing the same thing that his grandmother is doing. That's all. All right. America got the military. All right. And all in their military is all different nationalities. But they were still segregated like they was back in the 40s and the 50s and the 30s. Okay. You had the black band that only hung with each other. You had the white band that only hung with each other. At that time, it was only two different nationalities, all right, in the American military. You had black people and you had white folk, all right? The black people was segregated from the white folks. So they were broken up into bands. That's exactly what you're looking at now. That's why it says specifically, all right, he was a centurion soldier in the military of Rome, but he was of the Italian band, the certain group that he was a part of away from the other nations that they had conquered. He was a part of his own crew, the Italians, which was still Romans. All right, they still Romans. They were just segregated. He only hung out with the Romans. All right. Now let's continue here. A devout man, meaning he was devout. Let's continue. and one that feared God, capital G, meaning the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, not the pagan Roman philosophy gods, with all his house, meaning his house even followed the God of Israel, all right? All his house, which gave much alms. So he was giving offerings. He was doing everything that was required of him to do, that, or everything that the Israelites was doing, Cornelius was doing. He just hadn't had salvation. That's all. That was it. That was it. So anybody out there, all right, who a Gentile, you need to be studying Cornelius, because the brother was doing everything that the Israelites was doing. All right. His whole house was doing it. All right. They were following it. So all this other stuff that people want to come up with, these philosophies and stuff, no. You better get in your word and find out. The Gentiles was even keeping the Sabbath days and stuff. Don't get it twisted now. Don't get it twisted. Acts chapter number 10. When Acts chapter number 10. Even the Gentiles. All right. I can show you in the scriptures where the Gentiles on the Sabbath day having service. Don't get it twisted now. All right. We can go there with these scriptures, man. Every question that you have or anything that's coming out is nothing new under the sun with these philosophies. It's in the Bible. It's all there. You just have to study to show yourself approved. Let's continue to move. All right. Verse number 3. He saw in a vision evidently, about the 9th hour of the day, of an angel of God coming, coming in to him and saying unto him, Cornelius. So throughout scripture, the angels was always used, because angel in the Greek, when you look at it and you do the word study, it just means messenger. All right. That's what it is. It's messenger. The Lord always used the angels, as messengers. All right. That come speak on his behalf, or he would speak through them when they showed up. Let's read. So an angel visited Cornelius. Verse number 4. And when he looked on him, he was afraid and said, what is it, Lord? All right. And he said unto him, thy prayers and thine alms, meaning your offering, not no tithe, but your offering, all right, are come up for a memorial before God. And now send men to Joppa and call for one Simon, whose surname is Peter. So now it sets the stage. The reason why Paul rebuked Peter was because Peter he received a revelation who Christ was. He received a revelation that this new thing that was about to happen with the Gentiles. Peter, you know better. Therefore, that's why I'm rebuking you. But we're going to continue to roll on. Let's see it. All right. Jump down to verse number 9 of Acts chapter 10. And on the morrow, as they went on their journey and drew nigh unto the city, Peter went up upon the housetop to pray about the 6th hour. And he became very hungry and would have eaten. All right. So Peter is eating. All right, Sister Sonny, just hit the replay. And he became very hungry. So Peter is very hungry. Watch this now. See, the Lord is a master strategist, man. I'm going to show y'all about this thing, man. He went till Peter got hungry. All right. So Peter, all right, would have eaten. But while they made ready, he fell into a trance. So he fell into some form of like a sleep, or some form in between the sleep and dreaming or whatnot. We'll just leave it at that. Verse number 11. And saw heaven open. All right. Check this out. Cornelius gets a vision. Peter gets a vision. The Lord is all about edification. I keep trying. His characteristic has been the same throughout the scriptures. He is concerned about people understanding and getting edified. He showed up, gave Cornelius a vision, and gave Peter a vision, so it would not be any confusion. All right? Because he's not about confusion. Confusion don't come from the Lord. He's not about that. Both of them had a vision. Both of them. All right? One had a vision to go send for Peter. Peter about to have a vision about those who are coming. All right? Now, he had to prepare Peter. He had to prepare Peter because Peter was never taught to deal with Gentiles. Okay, remember when Christ came on it, when he was walking, he told the disciples, go not in the way of the Gentiles. Don't go teaching them nothing. Don't go teaching them anything. All right, at all. Don't be dealing with them. When I send you out by twos, don't be dealing with no Gentiles. It's not time yet. All right. So Peter had to be processed because he'd never been taught this before. All right. He was taught that the Gentiles were unclean. All right. That you shouldn't be dealing with them. So he had to be prepared. Cornelius had to be prepared to go send for him, and Peter had to be prepared to receive him. All right, let's read. And saw heaven open and a vessel descending unto him. Remember, this is a vision. This is a vision. This is not literal. This is a vision. All right, Sister Cheryl, God, have a blessed day. This is a vision. All right, let me say that again. This is not literal. This is a vision. That's why I say he was in a trance. All right, he was in a trance. It's a vision. He's not woke. He's not eating tangible things. This is a vision. This is a key place in this particular chapter that people miss. All right? And they try to make this literal when it's not. This is a vision. Let's roll. All right? Let's see here. Fell into a trance and saw heaven open and a vessel, all right, and a certain vessel descending unto him, and it had been a great sheet knit at four corners and let down to the earth. So this is a vision. All right. He's seeing this robe or this sheet open up out of heaven, not out of earth, out of heaven. All right. Verse number 12. Wherefore were all manners of four-footed beasts of the earth. And so these four-footed beasts of the earth, he was having a vision of these type of beasts that walked on the earth. Not literal beasts that was walking in the natural, but these are representations of animals that walk upon the earth in the natural. All right, that's what that is. All right, four-footed wild beasts and creeping things and fowls of the air. Verse 13, and there came a voice to him, rise, Peter, kill and eat. This is not literal. He's having a vision of animals that walk on the earth. So he's not killing, all right, literal food or literal animals. This is a symbolic thing that the Lord is trying to get him to prepare him to receive the Gentiles. All right, this is the first time this has happened. Peter don't know nothing about dealing with no Gentiles. He was told, don't deal with them. So now he has to be processed because it wasn't time. All right. This is the reason why it's important for you to sit, go through the process, trust the process of the Lord before you are sent. Everybody is trying to be sent before the process is complete. All right. It's just like putting food in the microwave or in the oven. All right. The food's supposed to cook to 5 minutes. You want to wait to 2 minutes and 250 seconds to take it out. And you try to eat this food and it's still frozen in the middle. It's hot on the top, but on the bottom it's frozen. That's what people do today. All right. They don't want to go through the process. And they wonder why what they eating and what they grabbing, they ain't getting. It's not nurturing or it's not substance to their bodies or their spirit because you're eating food or eating things of this word and you have not been perceived. You haven't processed totally. All right. You have to be processed before you try to go out and teach. And people don't want to sit. They want to be sent, but they don't want to sit. All right. And everybody in the Bible had to sit before they were sent. All right. The Lord is not going against his character. He's not going against anything that he has that's going to be contrary to his purpose and his mission of what he's trying to do. But you got to be processed because you'll get out here and you'll do more harm to yourself and the kingdom. And the Lord can't have that. And if you try to go out here and you're not processed completely, you will destroy yourself. The Lord is not going to allow you to represent him. You'll go out here and you will bump your head so hard and bust your head so hard. And you wonder why ain't nobody listening to you or receiving from you because you have not been totally processed. You have to be totally processed. Let's get in a row. All right. Verse number 14. Verse 13. And therefore came a voice to him. This is a vision, remember? Rise, Peter, kill and eat. But Peter said, not so, Lord. All right. For I have never eaten anything that is common, that everybody else eat. That's common stuff. All right. Everybody on this Thanksgiving finna eat common stuff that everybody else gonna be eating. All right. He says right here, he says, I have not. He says, no, Lord, for I have never eaten anything that is common that everybody else eat. Why? Because I'm an Israelite. And an Israelite, we have a certain dietary law that forbids us from eating what common folk eat. All right. Even when the Gentiles came into salvation in Acts chapter 21, they told them, if you want to be a part of what we're doing, then this is what you got to eat. All right. That's what they told them. Go read it. It's Acts chapter 21. Go read it. It's right there. All of it in there. The Gentiles, when they came in, that's what they had to do too. So in order to be a part of the fold, they had to do it. All right. So we're looking right here. He says, I have never eaten anything common or unclean, nothing common that everybody else eat, because I'm an Israelite. I'm the salt of the earth. I have been separated and called by God. And no, I don't have eaten anything unclean that everybody else eat, because that violates and go against the law. He's an Israelite. He knows this stuff. All right. But that's not what that's neither here nor there. It's a part of the process of learning this subject or learning this lesson today, but that's not the whole meat. We're looking at why he got rebuked. He got rebuked simply because he received revelation that the Gentiles would receive be grafted in. Okay. And he also got revelation of who Christ was. That's two major things that nobody else got revelation of. And Paul said, you know what? You got to be rebuked, because the way you're going right now, yes, you got revelation, but you're allowing your flesh to overpower your spirit because you're afraid of men's faces. All right. And the Lord told Jeremiah, need not be afraid of their faces. Another Israelite. Okay. This thing is consecutive. This thing is consistent. God's character is consistent from Bereshit, Genesis, all the way to Revelation. He does the same process. He may use a different person, but the methods and the process is the same. All right. As I was with Moses, Joshua, so shall I be with you. I'm not going to deviate. I'm not going to change my ways just because of a new generation. All right. Yes, I use different methods, but my character is the same. All right. Let's read. Verse number 15. And the voice said unto him, again, the second time, what God have cleansed, that call not uncommon. Now that right there, that one verse right there, everybody has isolated from their grandmama to their doggone nephews, nieces, and everybody else. That one particular verse, all right, has created a form of philosophy that just says, you know what? God goes against his characteristic. That's exactly what they've done. This one doggone particular verse. And the voice spake and said again the second time, what God have cleansed, call not thou common. Now, mind you, this is a vision. This isn't literal. Peter said, hey, Lord, I have not eaten anything that everybody eat. I haven't eaten anything against the law. And the Lord say, listen, don't call that unclean. All right. Don't call whatever I call. He didn't say the food. He said, don't call what I call unclean. All right. Now, or common, shall I say. All right. Now, if you keep reading and you get the context, you'll find out what the vision was about. It had nothing to do with food. Nothing to do with food. And Peter, now I have to sit up here and I have to correct folks, all right, about what the scripture's saying. And Peter had to get corrected by Paul because he was being a hypocrite. And so now I will be a hypocrite if I don't correct you. And I know what's the truth. I'm not going to get dealt with, all right? I'm not going to get, I don't care if you throw me out the synagogue. Christ told us yesterday, they're going to throw you out the synagogue for telling the truth. They're going to try to put you to death for telling the truth. All right? So for me, your salvation is way more important than our friendship. I don't care about getting deleted, blocked, whatever. It doesn't matter to me. I got to present the truth according to the scriptures, not my feelings and not your feelings. There's no I'm not being emotional with you. I'm going to tell you what thus saith the Lord in the scriptures. Now, let's continue to read here, all right? Let's see here. All right. Now, verse number 17. Now while Peter doubted in himself what this vision which he had seen should mean, behold, the men which were sent from Cornelius, because Cornelius got a vision. All right. Cornelius got a vision. Peter got a vision. So the men that were sent, okay, because of the vision. All right. Let's roll here. Cornelius had made inquiry for Simon, all right, house. Now, let's see here. Let's see here. All right. All right, jump over to Acts chapter number 10, verse number 30, so we can finish up here. All right. Verse number 30, Acts chapter 10, verse number 30. Let's see here. What's going on, Brother Harold? I'll see you in Vegas next month. All right, next month. Verse number 30, Acts chapter number 10. And Cornelius said 4 days ago, so now he's testifying about his revelation. All right. He's communicating and edifying and confirming with a vision that he had, and he knows that this calling for him to come to the Gentile, okay, he knows that. He's basically confirming it, all right, because now that vision has now begun to process and settle in his being, all right. Now, watch this testimony. And Cornelius said, all right, this is Pete, this is Cornelius, about his vision. Cornelius said, 4 days ago, I was fasting until this hour. All right. And at the 9th hour, I prayed in my house, and behold, a man stood before me in bright clothing. You're talking about the angel. And said, Cornelius, thy prayers is heard, and thine alms are had in remembrance in the sight of God. Send therefore to Joppa and call hither Simon, whose surname is Peter. He is lodged in the house of one Simon, a tanner by the seaside, who, when he cometh, shall speak unto thee. Verse number 33. Immediately therefore I sent to thee, and thou hast well done that thou art come. Now therefore are we all here present, Jews and Gentiles, all right, Israelites and Gentiles, before God, to hear all things that are commanded thee of God. Verse number 34. Then Peter opened his mouth and said, of a truth I perceive that God is no respect to a person, that God has come to bring salvation, or God has come to bring the grafting in of the Gentiles. That's what he's saying. All right. Verse number 35. But in every nation he that feareth him and worketh righteousness is accepted with him. The word which God sent unto the children of Israel, preaching peace by Jesus Christ, he is Lord of all. Verse number 37. That word I say, ye know, which was published throughout all Judea, and began from Galilee. He's talking about the word, all right, through Galilee, after the baptism which John preached. Verse 38, how God anointed Jesus of Nazareth with the Holy Ghost and with power, who went about doing good and healing that all that were oppressed of the devil, for God was with him. So he's testifying about Christ, all right, making sure Cornelius understands this, that brother, all right, your opportunity to be grafted in came by the way of the Israelite Messiah. That's basically what Peter is telling him. He's letting him know, don't get it twisted into thinking that just because you got grafted in, that you're going to start, you know what I'm saying, going against us, because we are still of the seed of Abraham. All right. You guys, y'all grafted in. So that's basically what he's trying to tell him in a nutshell. Let's continue to read. Verse number 39. And we are witnesses of all things which he did both in the lands of the Jews and in Jerusalem, whom they slew and hung on a tree. Him God raised up the third day and showed him openly, not to all the people, but unto witnesses chosen before of God, even to us who did eat and drink with him after he rose from the dead. And he began to preach unto the people and to testify that he which was ordained of God to be judge of the quick and the dead. Now, let's go down to verse number 44. Verse number 43, I'm sorry. To him give all the prophets witness that through his name whosoever believeth in him shall receive remissions of sin. Verse number 44. While Peter yet spake these words, the Holy Ghost fell upon all of them which heard the word. Verse number 45. All right, let's go here. Verse number 45. And they of the circumcision which believed were astonished, as many as came with Peter, because that on the Gentile also was poured out the spirit of the gift of the Holy Ghost. All right. Now, let's see here. Let's go down over here. Let's see here. I'm trying to see here. Wait a minute. I think I missed something. Hold on. Let's see here. Hold on for a second. Got to deal with a little one. Had to do some fatherly duties here. All right. Now, let's see here. Where are we? All right. Let's see here. We're in Acts chapter number 10, brothers and sisters, and we are almost finished here. All right, so let's go jump over to Acts chapter number 10, verse number 28. All right. All right. What's going on, Brother Cornelius? All right. So let's go to jump over to Acts chapter number 10, verse number 25. I ended up skipping that. I'm sorry. I wasn't supposed to jump over that. That's the major key to understanding that vision. All right, let's go to verse number 25. It says right here in Acts chapter number 10, and as Peter was coming in, Cornelius met him and fell down at his feet and worshiped him. But Peter, listen to this, but Peter took him up. So Cornelius, I understand he's falling down to his feet, okay? You find this common in tradition, all right, especially in the scriptures. It's not a form of worshiping or that you're making this person an idol. It's just a form of respect. It's just like you come in, somebody come into your house and you greet them with a kiss on the cheek or something like that, okay? That was just a common thing that was known, all right? So he says right here, it says verse number 25, and as Peter was coming in, Cornelius met him and fell down at his feet and worshiped him. And I'm going to do a word study on that word so you can understand what that means, all right, in the Greek, all right? But Peter took him up, saying, stand up, I myself also am a man. All right. I'm a man. And as he walked with him, he went so they walking together side by side, and found many that were come together. All right. Verse number 28 is the key verse to understanding this whole chapter of Acts chapter number 10. And he said unto him, ye know how that it is unlawful. Cornelius, you know that it's against the law. All right. It's against the law. You know that it's against the law. All right. For a man that is a Jew to keep company with, all right, could keep company of one of another next. So you know that what we doing, this is new. This has never been done before. All right. But God has showed me that I should call no man common or unclean. So the vision that was about the unclean foods was a vision about the Gentiles and not about eating food, because it was a vision and not literal. This is the reason why Peter got rebuked by Paul, because he withdrew himself in Galatians chapter 2 from the Gentiles after receiving revelation of right here in this chapter, right here in verse number 28. And ye know that it's unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company, meaning in the land mass in which they were residing, it was against the law of the Israelites to keep company, hang out, spend time. If you even go in the house of a person that's a Gentile, you're going to be messed around and be put to death. So that was a new thing. All right. So therefore he said, listen, he said, man, you know that it's unlawful for me to be coming into your house and for us to be kicking it with one another. You know it's against the law. This is the reason why Christ said that it was a land. It was a part of that law. All right. Even a part of the land law that came down with the Israelites. All right. That they were governing, that the Pharisees would make sure. So this is why in Galatians chapter 2, Peter withdrew himself. All right. Withdrew himself and the others. All right. Fearing. All right. Fearing that the circumcision was going to find out. And Paul said, you know what, Peter? You're a hypocrite. You are a hypocrite. That's why he got rebuked, brothers and sisters. So I pray that this lesson really was a blessing to you. And definitely, man, it was an awesome time. The Spirit is really moving throughout our Bible study lessons here on Facebook. Hey, brothers and sisters, I'll definitely, those of you in Atlanta, on December the 3rd, I'll be preaching at Christ Discipleship Ministries in Fairburn, Georgia. And then in December, on December the 9th, the next week after that through the 11th, I will be in Las Vegas for the first time, teaching and preaching there. I'll be teaching on apologetics as well as Bible prophecy. So that's going to be awesome. I can't wait to definitely see my brother John Williams and brother Harold and everybody out there in Vegas. I look forward to seeing you guys, man. It's going to be awesome time. Of course, I'll be back in my hometown of Jacksonville, Florida, where I grew up at pretty soon. And I'll be also be in Atlanta getting emails. Also, the Lord is opening up doors in the academia area of different colleges. So now I'll be lecturing in other colleges as well. Morehouse was an opening door, was a blessing. So now we're going to move forward and continue to roll, man. It's definitely awesome, man. I thank the Lord for all of you guys on here that support my brother Yashahala, and everybody on here, Justin Pollock and Sister Pollock, all of y'all, Jonathan Lutcher, all of you guys, Charles Maiden, all of you. I can't name all of you. It's a lot of you on here. But I just thank the Lord for all of you guys for always constantly sharing. My brother Marcel, brother Fenton, all of you guys on here, man. I thank all of you. I love you with the love of Christ, man. Continue to move, continue to stay encouraged, continue to be faithful, man. And because we got to preach this truth in these last days, no matter how much philosophy rise up. But also remember, you have to connect with the people first. If you want people to hear you and hear the Lord speaking through you, connect with the people first. My brother Robert Faith Music, I love you too as well. Tell your wife hello, man. Brother Demerit Brown, all of you guys out there, man. Listen, connect with the people first. They can't hear you if you don't connect with them. Then you show compassion. You have to understand that before you came in the truth, you were once where they were. This is why I encourage all the brethren and sisters, before you read, okay, before you read the prophecies of Christ and before you read the miracles of Christ, go do a study on Christ the evangelist and how he connected to people. which brought forth an opportunity of compassion. Then once that compassion was there and the people were ready to hear the words, he would speak to them truth that maybe was hurtful, but that truth knew that they knew that truth was coming from a good place, and therefore they brought forth correction. And he said, "Go and sin no more." Brothers and sisters, listen. I pray that you cannot eat without eating from the word of God. For man shall not live with bread alone, but every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. Meaning that this word is a continual word. It does not stop at one place. It's a continual word. Once you go through the continuation of this word, you should not only be able to preach about the blessings, but you should be able to preach about the law, the prophecies, everything. For these mysteries in this Bible, which seem to be mysteries to others, will be revealed to you because the kingdom will be in you. The key to the kingdom is in you. No devil in hell can take it away from you, but he can try to oppress you to cause you to give up your kingdom. All right? Don't allow anyone, as Revelation 3:10 says, to protect and guard God's word, so that way no man will take your crown and you will receive everlasting life. Once we take on these glorified bodies, we will be sinless. Sin will be out the door. That's why he said, continue. All right, if you continue, all right, if you endure unto the end, if you continue to go through the salvation process, then you will be saved. Until next time, brothers and sisters, I love you with the love of Christ. Don't forget to follow me on YouTube. Search Evangelist Majors, not It's Majors 1. That's my music page. But go to Evangelist Majors page. Hit like and follow me so that way you can get updates on upvoted videos that I publish, and you can share them with everybody that you want. If you're interested in me coming to do a lecture or anything like that, inbox me. We can set it up and we'll go from there. Grace to you, man. I love you with the love of Christ. Be blessed.